You're listening to the Future Tech Podcast with Richard Jacobs. Future technologies such as artificial intelligence, stem cells, 3D printing, gene editing, Bitcoin, blockchain, the microbiome, quantum computing, virtual reality, and exploring space are much closer than you might think. In fact, many early versions of these technologies are in play right now, and the companies that are using these technologies are the focus of this podcast. My goal for you, the listener, is to learn from these podcasts. You may very well learn something that may change the course of your life for the better, steer you towards a new career, or give you insight into addressing a thorny medical problem. Remember, this podcast and its content is informational in nature only. No medical, tax, legal, financial, or psychological advice is being given. If you enjoyed the podcast, please listen, subscribe, like, and tell your friends about it. Thank you. Hello, this is Richard Jacobs with the Future Tech and Future Tech Health podcast, and I have Carlos Olguin. He's the co-founder and CEO of LogicInk, and the website is logic.ink. So, Carlos, thanks for coming.
Thank you for inviting us.
Yeah, so tell me, what's the premise of LogicInk?
So at any point in time, we are constantly experiencing a range of conditions, whether in our body or in our environment. And many times these conditions can have a tremendous effect on our health. Yet for the most part, today, they remain disconnected from our actions and behaviors. So that is the opportunity we're trying to address at LogicInk. And by doing it, we are differentiating ourselves from the current state of wearables. So if you think of wearables today, you think about bulky electronic gadgets strapped to your bodies 24/7. They tend to be expensive. They tend to have a high learning curve, and invariably they require yet another device like your phone or your computer to be operated. All this creates an impractical or unaffordable multi-sensing wearable experience for many people. Yet many people still want to learn what's going on in their bodies or in their environment to be able to live a healthier and longer life. So in a sense, that is what we're shooting for. We want to expand the demographic of who wears wearables today by embracing, ongoing cultural conversations like people wearing tattoos, or by making sure that, not just geeks like myself can wear a wearable, but, children can wear them too, or the elderly, or moms who care about their children. So again, that's what we're trying to do at LogicInk.
So have you created a new wearable that's different from the other ones out there, or is it more of an educational play, or is it helping people to integrate with wearables? I mean, what's the strategy?
Yeah, so the form factor is of a tattoo or a tattoo-like device that is totally non-invasive and different from electronic wearables. Instead of being programmed with electronics, it still has a user interface like a wearable does. It mimics things like energy bars or activity rings on your Apple Watch. But all those displays are being programmed with chemistry or biology. And by doing so, they have all these benefits that I just described as challenges in the current state of wearables, meaning they're amazingly slim, they're amazingly easy to understand, they can be highly customizable, they can be whatever you want, like a tattoo. And they're there on your skin, dynamically fluctuating, to indicate a condition of alert about, again, your body, like hydration levels or how much alcohol you drank, or eventually, glucose, or in the environment, like pollution levels around you, which is very relevant here in the Bay Area where we are based, or if you had too much sun for the day. Does that make sense?
Yeah, okay. So these are the things that the wearable will be able to sense at some point in the future. But right now, do you have a product that's actually in use, or is it at the concept stage?
So we have shipped about 25,000 units of LogicInk UV, which is our first product to market. It has 2 displays. It has an inner ring that lets you know of the intensity, the real-time intensity of UV rays around you. And then we also have an outer ring in that same display that gradually changes color in a clockwise fashion. And when it reaches the end, it tells you that someone with sensitive skin had enough sun for the day. This is based on data sets from the World Health Organization that measure that point in time when someone starts to have a sunburn because of the effects of the UV radiation. So we calibrate the alert to half that level. As you can imagine, I mean, I don't know, how much you know, but UV radiation is an important source of health concern, at least here in the U.S. and in other countries. 1 in 5 Americans will develop skin cancer within their lifetime. And also from a cosmetic angle, you may know that 90% of all skin aging is due to UV radiation. This is according to the Skin Cancer Foundation. So those are important, value propositions for being more aware of your exposure and being able to control it, whether by adding sunscreen, which, by the way, the device is able to interact with sunscreen, or by seeking shade, or by adding more layers, but eventually introducing healthy habits in people's minds and in children and the next generation, while having that feedback loop that today is invisible until it's too late, and guiding your actions.
So is it the current UV sensor, is it a tattoo, like a temporary tattoo you put on the skin, or what does it look like?
Yeah, you apply it like a temporary tattoo without the need for water. So you remove a cover, you flip the card, you press it on your skin, then you remove the card, and the tattoo remains on your skin. It's truly more like a very thin sticker, but it feels and looks like a temporary tattoo.
Okay. So it tells you how much UV radiation is in your current area. So I guess you want to put this on the back of your hand, or where's a good place to put it on your body?
You can put it wherever it's sun exposed. So if you go on to the beach, you can, we've seen moms put it on the back of their children. It's more about, what's the use case. But let's say if you're going, if it's more of a daily use, you can put it on the back of your hand, like you said. That is a good proxy for exposure elsewhere, like on your face, according to research.
So it's got 2 concentric rings. You said the inner one tells you how much UV radiation you're getting. And does it have, at certain points along the ring, does it tell you low danger, high danger, leave the sun immediately, or you just have to look at the color and it tells you, according to a chart, what to do? Yeah,
that's a great question. So no, there's no chart. The tattoo is the UI itself. It works in this disconnected state, if you will, and it can be exactly like what you're saying. There's that ring, like a clock, that is moving clockwise, like I was mentioning. So we can add those elements of, it's getting more dangerous or not, beyond, you're just seeing the clock moving. At the end of the day, the design is highly arbitrary. So maybe one day we will explicitly make those words appear. That's one of the benefits of the form factor we're working on. We're programming, again, all this with chemistry in this case to be able to show whatever we want to show. For now, we decided to just play it more discreet and make sure that, it's something that once you know how it works, you will remember, so we don't need to add labels. But again, it can be whatever it needs to be. In the future, we may focus on a version for children only, right? So it will be something that children will be very excited about. For now, we just want to make sure that children also like it as much as their moms.
You said the outer ring is it's tied to a recommendation level for UV throughout the whole day, or what is?
Yeah,
more
through
about the
UV throughout the whole day. Correct. Sorry.
Yeah. So the inner one is at any moment, if you're exposed to too much UV, it's like an acute sensor, and the other one's more of a chronic or a whole day exposure sensor.
Yeah, cumulative. One is cumulative, meaning is not reversible. The outer ring, never goes back. And the inner ring is real time, and like you said, it's acute and just telling you if there's what's the current intensity of the sun in a very qualitative manner. So that means, for example, that if you apply sunscreen on your body and on the device, well, then the inner ring will immediately dim based on the strength of that sunscreen. So if you're using a low SPF, you will still see the inner ring light up. And then the outer ring, if you think about it as a clock again, well, that clock will go slower based on the strength of the sunscreen. And then when the sunscreen wears off, then the inner ring will fully light up again, letting you know that it's time to reapply. And the outer ring will just move fast. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it makes sense. It's really interesting. So what gets most people in trouble? You said 1 in 5 will develop skin cancer. Is it because they'll have several acute episodes that damage their skin, or is it over time it'll slowly damage their skin and they'll build up to a point where the skin turns cancerous?
So there are many reasons why one develops skin cancer, and there are many kinds of skin cancer. But what we've seen based on research done is that the cumulative effects of sun exposure, especially in childhood, can have a tremendous effect down the road as you become an adult, and then later as you grow older is when many people start to see these problems that can result in a type of cancer that can be if detected early can be solved adequately, and sometimes it's more difficult. So in our case, what we are looking to do is to empower people, to give them that visual feedback loop of both the real-time exposure, which you can claim is more obvious, but at the same time, even in a cloudy day, you're getting sun exposure, but also the cumulative effect, not just in one day, but across days. We're building an app. I didn't mention this. That app is able to record, even though we're saying we don't need gadgets. We definitely don't want you to use it unless you want to. But let's say at the end of the day, you couple the app, the mobile app, to the tattoo, and then you record your exposure for that day. And then let's say in a week or in a month of using LogicInk, we would be able to say things like, people who've been exposed to this much exposure of radiation fall under this risk bracket, and these are things that they can do, etc. So we're not a medical device, so we need to be careful about the language we use, but we can give value to people using using LogicInk in these ways.
Yeah, you could tell them like this month you had like 3 acute episodes where you were exposed to too much UV, and then this one Saturday you went 20% over like your recommended daily intake of UV. So you could show people that data, and then they could take action on it or not.
Yeah, we can word the coaching in the right way to convey the right information, and people can take action. Can take action in different ways. Sometimes they need to upgrade their sunscreen, or they need to apply more, or they need to use it just use it because they never use it. Or sometimes, and this is somewhat of a debate, a controversial point, but I will mention it. Sometimes it's good to get sun exposure too. This is still not fully accepted by agencies, especially here in the U.S., that do not recommend by any means to get sun exposure as a way to get synthesis of vitamin D, and instead recommend that one should take vitamin D supplements to be able to have a balanced intake of vitamin D or synthesis of vitamin D. But there's also research that is coming up in peer-reviewed literature that says that actually sun exposure is really good because not only it synthesizes vitamin D, but it also synthesizes other molecules, proteins, etc., that help have a healthier life. So it's a balance. It's not just about you wearing sunscreen all day and not having any sun exposure. This is still, again, a controversial point, but with a device like LogicInk, it's not only telling you when you reach, when you're about to reach a dangerous limit, but the fact that you're seeing that you're getting sun exposure, it's also a positive signal within limits.
Okay. All right. So what's next? The UV device is up and running. You've shipped it a bunch of times. What's like the next 1 or 2 things that you want to create in terms of the wearable?
Yeah, there are a number of sensors that we've developed already in a proof of concept stage. We've developed a pollution sensor. We've developed, just to be more clear, by pollution I mean PM 2.5 or fine particulate matter of 2.5 microns in diameter or less, and a specific kind of PM 2.5 that is very common in highly polluted cities. We've also developed an alcohol sensor, fully funded now by NIH, National Institutes of Health. And we are also in the midst of developing other sensors that relate to sports and wellness, or that can have an effect on the health of your skin. So that includes hydration, or the hydration of your skin, or other related conditions. So in terms of what we productize next, we still need to, we're still working on that, and we'll make an announcement soon. But we are excited that UV is just the first sensor in that roadmap, and we're getting the necessary traction, whether by creating the right partnerships or getting the right type of investors, or starting to see this customer traction with UV to be able to grow beyond UV and be able to say things like, people who care about UV today, there's an overlapping customer that also cares about hydration. So that could be a potential next sensor, to give you an idea what could be next.
Are you going by, how are you gauging what to, is it going to be more for to protect kids? Is that why UV and that why hydration, or the elderly, or is there something else driving, your decision to now go to look at hydration after UV?
Yeah, we wouldn't focus only on kids today. If anything, we have noticed that moms are as concerned about their kids as they are about themselves. So it's a slightly larger demographic, but at the same time, we're still an early stage startup. It's true that we are shipping UV. We still need to fully scale the manufacturing of UV, so we still have some work to do on UV. And then as we scale, we need to be as focused as we can. This example that I mentioned, people who care about UV, many of them also care about their hydration levels. Whether it's in a context of just not drinking enough water, but they're just regular people, or in the context of these might be athletes that need to stay hydrated, not over or under hydrated, but hydrated at the right levels. So those are directions that we're still exploring. We're still seeing, where can we grow the most and stay focused along a vector of sensors that all together make sense. We've done a lot of proof of concepts today. Some of them, again, funded by the government here in the U.S., some of them funded by Fortune 50 companies or Fortune 100 companies. So those are great indicators for us to learn what the next sensor to productize next.
Well, what about a hierarchy of the most difficult ones to the easiest ones? Is that figured into your calculation?
Yeah, that's definitely a factor. So what you're asking about is a technology risk roadmap. So that is definitely important to us. So if you think about UV, UV is not sensing any physical analytes, it's sensing radiation. So from that perspective, it has less challenges. I would say, to be very transparent with you, the inner ring that tells you the real-time exposure of UV it's admittedly not novel in general, but only in the specific design and form factor that we created. But the combination with the cumulative aspect of it, which is novel, makes it a more unique and easy to use product. But still, you're not sensing, as I said, physical analytes. You're not sensing from a specific skin. You're sensing from the environment. So if you go along that roadmap, then you start to sense physical analytes from the environment, right? So you can start to sense pollutants, for example, like PM 2.5 or allergenic pollen, for example. And those are still physical analytes that are not, coming from your body. So somehow that is a less complex task, but still you need to deal with new aspects like how do you amplify a nanogram of external environmental analyte all the way so that anybody without additional instrumentation can see it with the naked eye. That is a huge task that we've been able to accomplish. But yet you're not sensing from your body. And then along that path, the Holy Grail, if you will, is sense biomarkers from your body. And that is more challenging because now you're dealing with inter and intra subject variability. What that really means is that, everybody secretes a certain analyte, tends to secrete it in different ways. What you mean by hydration is highly relative, to that person, not only to that person, but that point in time in the day of that person. So those become more complex challenges. Luckily, we've been able to deliver functional prototypes along those lines. We delivered an alcohol sensor that was fully validated by NIH. That meant that subjects that the NIH, brought in, try the alcohol sensors, so they had to get a little bit drunk, we presume, like we did for research purposes. So we're happy about the direction we go, but you need to couple that technology risk roadmap to a business risk roadmap, and you want to find that balance. How do we stay focused, like I said before, within a single or a market, ideally, so that people who care about UV, care about hydration, maybe also care about pollution because it affects your skin, or those are elements we're still figuring out, but we have a first product to market, and we can't wait to announce the second one soon.
Yeah, that's great. When are you going to announce your second one? What's the timetable approximately?
So sometime in mid-2019, we should be very close to sharing what that next sensor is.
Okay. And what's like the Holy Grail for you guys? Is it a particular type of sensor, or is it one that has 7 different things in it? Like, what does that look like for you? That would be like, you'd be so happy that you were able to make an amazing product.
The Holy Grail for us is when we create a critical mass of sensors so that anybody, can come to our site and basically, whether it's based on what the doctor is prescribing to you or your own preferences, you're just going to be dragging, the different sensors that you care about, whether it's ketones or glucose or hydration or pollution. And in this very simple interface, you're just going to be dragging them to different aspects of a fully customized tattoo that you chose. Maybe you uploaded it. Maybe you chose it from a gallery that we showed you, and associate with different aspects, different design elements of that tattoo. And by doing so, only you will know what that means, unless you want to, share it with the world, but it's your choice. So you can share with the world that you're drinking a lot of alcohol, if that's your preference, or you are in a date, for example, and you just want to look the back of your wrist and make sure that you're below DUI, even though maybe the person you're dating is, 3 times your weight and is drinking the same as you, and probably doesn't have the same effects of drinking the same as you as in your body. So it's all about self-empowering, not about being, big brother. It's about self-empowering and giving that awareness to people so they can adjust their lifestyle choices to live a healthier and longer life. And that is the end state we want to reach.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Huh. Well, I think it's a great future for these kind of devices. Very interesting. Well,
yeah,
very good. So what's the best way for people to order the UV tattoo if they want it, and to find out more about the company?
Yeah, like you mentioned the URL already, they can go to logic.ink and so LOGIC.INK, and we're running batches almost every month now. So the next production batch is on February 28th, and if they order now, they should be able to get their tattoos around that time, starting to be shipped. And then also there we'll be showing what the next sensors will be. Maybe it's going to be more than one at the same time. But we also want your feedback. We want everybody's feedback. This is we think of what we're doing almost like a movement where there's a bigger population out there that is not just the intersection of geeks and health awareness. And in that way, we want to hear from them, from you, how to keep growing in a way that people feel that they're just going around their lives. They're free. It's a liberating experience. You're not looking at your phone at all times. Your identity remains within you, on you. We're expanding. We're just expanding in a way the bandwidth of what it means to be you. By giving this additional information on you, extending why people wear tattoos. Self-expression, adding elements that you feel you want to add when you want that to happen. That's what we want to keep, growing and learning from that bigger population out there.
I just had the idea it'd be funny if you had a sticker that was an eye and you slapped it on your forehead for like a third eye, and it could see things, let's say in infrared or, I don't know. It would alert you to certain things, but I know that's
if that's what you wanted, you should be able to have that at some point, from us. Not now, but eventually.
Gotcha. Last thing, are these stickers disposable, or do you put it on and then you take it off and clean it and keep it for a long time, or is it what's the model? Is it you get a whole box of cheap stickers to put on, or is it expensive and you can't make it cheap, so you got to keep the sticker carefully preserved?
I wish I could answer this better, but unfortunately, right now our cost of manufacturing is still very high, so they are expensive and they are disposable. So they cost around almost $4 per unit today when you buy them in a pack of 10. And then when you buy on a subscription basis, we lower the price even below our cost right now to $1.5 per unit. Our goal is to be able to just keep increasing manufacturing capacity so we can keep lowering our costs and make this for everyone. We're admittedly targeting right now to our early adopters or people who can afford it and are happy to try it. But again, it's a strong focus of us to just keep reducing the price. They are disposable. I think that's a good thing that they are disposable. You can change them very easily. Anything in contact with your skin is medically graded. That's also important to say. We are sourcing that, so we're not making what's directly in contact with your skin. So it would be FDA regulated and things of that sort. In fact, just to give you an idea, the adhesive we're using that is in contact with your skin is normally used for wound dressing or for eye patches. So we want to make sure this is first and foremost safe. And giving you meaningful information, and then over time, keep making it more affordable for everyone. And for now, we're just excited that we're seeing people come in and try it out.
Okay, well, very good. Well, Carlos, this is a super interesting idea. So looking forward to seeing how it progresses, and I appreciate you coming on the podcast.
Thank you, Rich, for your time, and I hope this was interesting to you.
Yes, definitely.
You're listening to the Future Tech Podcast with Richard Jacobs. Future technologies such as artificial intelligence, stem cells, 3D printing, gene editing, Bitcoin, blockchain, the microbiome, quantum computing, virtual reality, and exploring space are much closer than you might think. In fact, many early versions of these technologies are in play right now, and the companies that are using these technologies are the focus of this podcast. My goal for you, the listener, is to learn from these podcasts. You may very well learn something that may change the course of your life for the better, steer you towards a new career, or give you insight into addressing a thorny medical problem. Remember, this podcast and its content is informational in nature only. No medical, tax, legal, financial, or psychological advice is being given. If you've enjoyed the podcast, please listen, subscribe, like, and tell your friends about it. Thank you.